Welcome everybody, this is Peter Ryman. Let me ask you something. What did you notice on that golf swing? If you said centrifugal force, then you're correct. And I bet that is not what you were thinking. Maybe you did because it's in the headline of this video. But specifically, what we're going to talk about today is, yes, that idea of centrifugal force, but what that means in terms of how you're supposed to get through the ball and what your address versus impact position is supposed to look like. So as I freeze frame that swing I just made and we look and compare address versus impact, I want you to notice how the club shaft steepens, how at address the hands move higher, okay? That is a reaction to centrifugal force. Centrifugal force is just the idea that basically an object in orbit around a centered object is exerting pulling away forces, okay? And that's essentially what is happening in a downswing. Our body's a center position, the club head is moving around it, and as the club head moves around it, it wants to move away from you. If you didn't hold on to it, this club would go flying out of your hand, so there are outward forces being applied. Now, typically, we're going to react to that in order to handle those forces. What I want you to think of here, if I were to hold this club at an angle, meaning my left arm and shaft form an angle, and someone were to walk by and try and pull it out of my hands, that angle would reduce and it would move towards basically a straight, flat line, right? Think too, for example, if you've ever chopped wood before, maybe you live in New England like me, and it's cold, and maybe you have a wood stove like me. Chopping wood, we basically take the axe, put it on an angle, okay, give it that leverage, and then throw it out. There's a lot of outward centrifugal force going on there, and basically impact, much like a golf swing, things move on to a straighter line. So that needs to happen in a swing as well if you want to generate as much power as you possibly can. Most people do that. That's the good news. The bad news is most people do it with a set of shoulders and body that is square to the ball. So in other words, they set up like this and then they hit like this. Okay, so in other words, my hands are moving up, but they're moving up because my body is moving up. We don't want to do that in golf because when you do that, it doesn't allow you to sequence. Sequence means that we basically start a downswing from the ground up with our lower body, hips, chest, and then club head comes through finally. It's an important concept, right, to generate as much control and power as we can. So what I want you to try and think about is another way to steepen the handle here is to allow my hips and shoulders to clear. If my hips and shoulders clear, my left shoulder goes this way, right? And if, assuming I keep the club out here, move back this way, make sure you can actually see my club head. Assuming I keep my club head on the ball, what you're going to see is that the club shaft moves more upright. My hands move up, the club shaft steepens ever so slightly. Okay? So that is the correct way to react to centrifugal force, right? But it's a hard thing to do and it's a hard feel to create, but I think the best thing you can do is to start by getting the feel of what it's like to actually have your shoulders work towards open at impact. So here's a drill for you. This drill, just a heads up, can typically make people hit some pretty wild fades and slices, but it does give you the feel that would be required for getting your shoulders open. So I encourage you to do the drill, create the feel, don't worry about the results, and then put the ball back into a normal position and try and recreate the feel. So ball position drill, this is what it is. You know, normally I think I have a 6-iron, I do. So 6-iron, going to be slightly forward to center, somewhere in here. What I want you to do with this drill is take the ball and put it all the way to the outside of your left foot, somewhere in there, and then move the ball in about a club head width closer to you on top of that. All right? Now in order to hit that shot, you're going to have to open your shoulders pretty dramatically through the strike in order to get the club head on the ball there or somewhere close to it. And that's going to give you the feel of what it's like to open the shoulders. So this is the type of drill I want you to do like 5-10 times, create the feel, and then move the ball back to a normal hitting position. Okay? Still try and create that feel of opening the shoulders and see how it goes. It should move you onto a straighter line like so at impact. Now I'm going to try this. Full disclaimer, typically when you do this drill, you're going to hit some pretty big cuts. That's what I'm fully expecting to see right now. Ball is way forward, outside my left foot, there it is, a little bit closer. All right, just going to work on getting my left shoulder open through this shot. And I think I pulled it off there. That should actually be a pretty nice little fadey move, yeah. Awesome, I'll take that all day. As a guy who hits habitual draws, sometimes hooks, I actually like seeing that. Maybe I should swing like that all the time. That's a good feel though, folks, of what it's like to clear and get through the ball. So again, give it a shot, try it, put the ball back to normal, and then hit it and still try and clear your shoulder. That should help move you into a better hitting position with a steepening shaft at impact that's more powerful, but in such a way where you're not square to the ball and basically moving your hips in and standing up on it. Let me know how it goes, comment below, and I'll have another video out for you soon. Cheers.